Hello, I am Amy Rose Herrick, and we're going to do another educational session for my entrepreneurs today. Now, we're going to be talking about calculating the true cost of employees. Now, with that, I know so many of you think you have got this handled, or well, somebody else does that. But I'm going to open your mind up because I really think there are a lot more steps to calculating the accurate cost of an employee, which has an effect on how you budget for that employee, and then also directly impacts what you need to charge for any goods and services that are associated with that employee. So this isn't going to take very long, but you're going to really get a lot in a short period of time. Now, this is based on the course that I have on calculating the true cost of employees. So I'm going to pull some snippets out, but this will get you started. And again, these are the types of things that can have an enormous impact on your bottom line, but nobody's really taught you those things before. So we're going to get started, and let's go ahead here. We're going to get going with the presentation. So I will be popping in and out when I talk to you because I don't do all slides all the time. So if we're going to calculate the true cost of your employee, well, let's talk about it. Oh, the other thing, I always have is my disclosure. I work with a wide variety of audiences, so I'm going to start getting you thinking, but it's very common for you to need to talk to your bookkeeper, your tax person. In some cases, you need to speak to your attorney, someone in legal, accounting, those type of things, but this will get you started. And of course, you're free to reach out and schedule a time with me if you have some questions, and that information will always be in the chat. So let's look at this. Well, what is an employee? Well, let's talk about that a little bit. We all have an idea, but what is an employee? Well, employee is someone that is obviously working for you. They're on the payroll. And one of the easiest things that you may find is that they get a W-2. And as an employer, you are matching their Social Security and their Medicare. You may even be providing benefits. And that goes along with how are your employees? How do we compensate employees? Well, when we start talking about compensating employees, we can look at that, and that's a variety of things. Some of you are automatically going to think, oh, well, I pay him wages. Well, you do. But then in addition to that, you also pay and match their Social Security and medical taxes, Medicare taxes. Now, are you giving them a cell phone that you pay for? What about a car? Do you have a gym membership? Do you provide health insurance? Disability insurance, life insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance. There's all different kinds of things that could also be built in. Now, for some of you, you pay for licensing. For some of you, you pay for bonding. You pay for training. There are all different types of things that really work into what is the compensation of an employee, but you may not be thinking about how much they actually cost you as an employee when we get too focused on just one area, which happens to be their wage, which is not reflective of what the real picture is. And you're going to see as I go through a couple of examples here, why that is just not the final be all and end all. Now, this is the easiest part you usually see, and that is your hard position costs. Well, we know who the employee is. In some cases, you are going to have a particular job, and that job is done by multiple individuals, and they are all paid the same wage, but not always because it depends upon their tenure. We have the wages that you pay annually. We've got Social Security and FICA. Those are the ones everybody knows about. But then what happens when you start adding in things like work comp premiums? And of course, an office worker's work comp per thousand is going to be much less expensive than if I have someone, for example, who is doing roofing or maybe metal fabrication, for example. We've got to add federal unemployment insurance. What about your state unemployment insurance? Do they have professional liability, bonding, licensing, all the different insurances that the employer is helping or subsidizing? Do you have a MERP, QSERA, HSA? If you don't know what those initials mean, that means you probably don't, but it's also something that could be discussed to see if it would be beneficial to you and your employees. So Now that you've got that part, I want to take you to the next step. And you are seeing a few of the pages out of the workbook that goes with this particular course. There's more to it, but this will give you a little snippet. So then we've got the soft position costs. We already had the hard costs from the last page that we worked on. Do you provide uniforms, phones, or pagers? And do you see on this particular line where I'm putting my cursor, 1/3 of 3 years of a cell phone or pager replacement cost? That's just an example. Or other tools and supplies. Do they have a computer, printer, whatever the case may be? I like to add these into the cost of a position because this is going to help me later. And when I'm actually pricing goods and services that they may provide to make sure that I am charging enough. And you'll see in the example why here a little bit later. But let's say that I think that they're going to need the new computer is $1,500. It's a number. Yours may be more, yours may be less. So I would allocate $500 a year that I would be putting in a different topic that I talk about, which is the replacement account. Now, let me back up here. We're putting this on an item for this employee because that's part of the costs of what it takes for that employee to produce in this position. And I'm going to use the computer as an example. I'm taking this hypothetical $1,500 computer. I think I have to replace it about every 3 years. And so that's $500 a year. I'm going to be taking that $500 a year. It's a different course that I teach on building up a replacement cost line item budget so that when I need to replace equipment, I've already got the cash in the bank to do it. I am not going to be borrowing money. I'm not going to be going into debt. I need to work these things. And a replacement cost account will also help you if you see some large items that are going to be coming up and purchasing those are going to be a problem or it's going to put you in a deficit, you're losing money. That can also be a real good signal that you've got to dramatically increase your prices correctly, or maybe it's time for you to let go of this business before it goes from being profitable to being unprofitable. So when you get a chance and I have it up, make sure that you watch and listen to the replacement cost one. So going back to what we were talking about here. So now it's getting harder. Well, now that we have added some of these soft position costs that are unique to that position, then I have got a new subtotal that I am working with. All right, well, the number's gone up a little bit. Ooh, now I am really going to blow your mind. Did you ever think about the cost of an employee that has to do with their workspace costs? I know many of you don't think about it. You've got a building, you have a warehouse. I don't care what it is, but you've got something. Do you have to pay rent, mortgage payments, utilities, insurance, taxes, repairs, maintenance? No space is free. Now, hypothetically, let me take my hypothetical employee. We're going to put him in a cubicle. Let's just do that. In this hypothetical employee's workspace, they have 100 square feet, which is very small, but you're going to find I like real simple math, easy for everybody to do. And if they're taking up 10 square feet, they're taking up 10% of the building. So if I had $1,000 a month in costs for my 100 square feet, then $100 of those costs are attributable to that employee space that they occupy. Whether they're there 24/7 doesn't matter. The fact is that's the additional overhead cost I have for that employee. Now, for some of you, you haven't thought about this, and I'm not picking on anybody, but I want to just bring this to your mind. You know, if you have a really lovely corner office with the view, way extra space and everything else, and you look at what the cost of that office space is, when you add it on to what they're already getting for wages, salary, perks, and whatever, some of you are going to realize that you are paying substantially more for an executive position than you ever budgeted or thought of, because you were looking at it, but you weren't looking at what it costs for the space that they occupy. And we really have to watch that because it has a huge impact on what it's going to cost us for the services they provide, to make sure that the services they provide justify the position and the amount we're paying for it. So don't get mad at me if you already have the corner office. Don't get mad. But, thinking of it a little different way, again, this affects the profitability of the company and can be dramatic. So I'm going to take you on a little bit different route at this point. So if we go on a different route at this point, do you really need every employee working on site for you? There are a lot of changes that have happened over the last few years. Some of them were forced. Some of them could have been voluntary much earlier. Some of them have worked out fabulous. Some we got to change a little more. But does an independent worker with a home-based workspace with no overhead provide the position at a much lower cost and more efficiently than if you had them on premises? Now, there are some positions that have got to be there for certain hours, but not all of them do. Does every employee that you have to be supervised every moment of the day, or does every project have to be completed on site? If not, you may want to look at the contract workers or freelancers or some of the other sites to get those particular things done for a lower cost, more efficiently to do what you need. Maybe 3 part-time people working on 3 different things is better than a full-time person for you, and you still get it done. It affects the bottom line. However, I want to caution some of you who are thinking, well, great, I'll just get rid of all these employees on premises. I don't need them here. Yes and no. There is a publication with the IRS. It's called 15A about statutory employees. I'm not going to read all of this because you probably have already skimmed through it. But on a statutory employee, this allows you to look at the employees and determine whether they are statutory employee and you still need to match Social Security, you still need to match Medicare and treat them as an employee, or can you arrange the position? Does the duty really fit the dynamics of being a contract employee? All right, so I want you to pay attention to 15A. Don't just do this willy-nilly. The other thing that I have that has kind of been a rule in the business, the employees we've ever had, you are going to have business interruptions. I don't care what's happened. The water's not going to work. The electricity is going to be off for a while. Something has occurred. Equipment is down. And rather than everybody sitting around going, wow, there's nothing to do. We have no electricity. What are we going to do? There's always something to do. Now, at this point in the presentation, for those who have been live that were on that were doing this with me, that were on Zoom or something else, I usually go ahead and end the recording. This will be, of course, put up on YouTube on my channel that's being built out. Now, you are free to look down in the show notes and you'll be able to see how to contact me, and for additional resources, please stop by and visit either on my LinkedIn profile or my Facebook profile, again, down in the show notes. And that will list all the different trainings that I have available and what's going to be coming up that you might want to join live so that you'll be able to ask your questions. And then in addition to that, you'll see links that will get you my free digital book, How to Add $10,000 to $100,000 or More to Your Bottom Line This Year. There's going to be links on how to get in touch with me. And I look forward to having you back on another day. Again, I am Amy Rose Herrick. I'm America's Profit Building Specialist, and I am here to help you build your bottom line.